Hello, it is Monday, it is September 14th, and this is our video recap of what happened today in Ms. Perdomo's Digital Academy class. So let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule because that drives what we're going to be doing throughout the whole day. We started off with our morning meeting. During our ELA time, I gave the students a spelling test. For the spelling test, I read out the word, I use it in a sentence, and then I repeat the word. There were 20 spelling words and there were 6 challenge words. Each of the 20 spelling words are worth 1 point, and the challenge words are bonus and optional, but they're worth 2 points. So after the students took their spelling test, I asked them to take a picture of their spelling test and to send it to my email. So you might send it to Class Dojo or you can send it to my email. If they didn't have access to a phone, I asked them to wait until their parents got home so that they could take a picture and send that to me. When I get those in, I can grade them and then I can let those students know their scores. We talked about the fact that it is easy enough for them that they could very well cheat on a spelling test because it is not a strict testing environment. They're at home, but that is really only cheating themselves. So by them giving me authentically what they're capable of, they can actually grow and get better as a learner rather than pretending that they know all of those words and then not benefiting because they still can't spell those words in their writing. So we did talk a little bit about integrity when it came to taking tests. Then I did have the students in Canvas work on either 2 activities. One of them was taking a Unit 1 vocabulary quiz, which was going over the just add water vocabulary words that have HYDR, aqua, and mar and mare. And that one was done as a test where they had to fill in the blank different words to choose, as well as multiple choice antonyms, synonyms, as well as a the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word of what this is. A word relationship, an analogy. That's the word I'm thinking of. And an analogy at the bottom for them to do. This was a test out of 100 points for them to complete, and they got their answers back immediately once they finished it. If they needed more time and they needed to take this tomorrow, I allowed them to do so. So they had a spelling test, they had a vocab quiz, and we also did reading groups for the first time. So I have 24 children. I've divided them into 6 groups. I can see 2 groups on Monday, 2 groups on Tuesday, take a break on Wednesday, see the first groups again, group 1 and group 2 on Thursday, and then finally see group 3 and 4 on Friday. This way, at least they're getting 2 times out of the week, they're meeting with me for at least 15 minutes to get small group reading instruction. So that started today, and we used the story Red Kayak. We were able to read through some of the story. Most of the groups got through maybe 3 or 4 of the pages. Then I stopped at that point because the time was up, and I asked them to read the remainder of the book on their own because we're then going to talk about the book and go over questions together when we see each other at our next meeting. So if they met with me today on Monday, they want to have that story read by Thursday when we meet again. During our language time or our writing time specifically, the students had been creating all of these lists, so now it was time for us to finally use these lists. And so I explained to the children a quick activity where I would first just imagine a scenario and I would draw it out as a picture. So I imagined an outdoor adventure, and my outdoor adventure took me somewhere to the beach where there might be a surfboard in the water and fish jumping over that surfboard. Maybe there's a double rainbow going on and the sun is out. And then I started to look at some of my lists, things that I can't stand, things like jellyfish at the beach, or things that I absolutely love, like my dogs and tacos and pizza. And so then that kind of filled in my story with more details, that it's going to be a day at the beach where it's a beautiful hot summer day, and I happen to see fish that are jumping over in the waves, and I get to see a double rainbow, and how enjoyable it is to have some of my favorite foods and my dogs there. But like any good story, a story needs to have some kind of conflict. So my conflict is going to be when I'm bit by the jellyfish in the water, and then how do I resolve that conflict? So I showed them this technique of being able to use your imagination to kind of draw out a picture of what your story is going to be like. And then, of course, using those lists to kind of fill in some more of those ideas. I then gave them 20 minutes to write. You could spend 20 minutes on your own outside of Zoom with music on, typing in Google Docs, or you could type it or write it inside of a notebook. It's up to you. And then I was writing at the exact same time. So I wrote for the 20 minutes. I modeled for them that I was able to write one page of one story about the beach day, but then I got tired of that story and moved on to another day about my dog getting out of the house. And by the time that I got halfway through that story, I thought of another idea of what if the perspective wasn't from me losing the dog, but instead the dog knowing that he's leaving the house to go out on an adventure, and what he might say when he comes back to talk to the second dog. So I wanted to model for them that the 20 minutes of writing does not have to be the same story for 20 minutes. It has to be you writing and coming up with ideas for 20 minutes. And then maybe tomorrow I might take that idea of the point of view of the dog and the dog's day out and make that a story that I work on tomorrow. So we did that for 20 minutes, and then I asked students to share some of their best ideas that they came up with, so that students are sharing and getting excited about the writing process. The students then had a break for them to have lunch and to get homeroom PE on their own. I did ask the students to come back at social studies so that I could give them visual notes. We did have some problems with the visual notes because of the camera that I have here in the classroom. So I did say I was going to go over those notes in the recap. So let me just quickly go over those with you. We have already taken notes from chapter 1 called U.S. Geography Point 1. This was us doing our notes for U.S. Geography Point 2. And so we put the date as September 14th, that this is a social studies content, and that there were 5 key vocabulary words that I wanted the students to know. I wanted them to know contiguous, territory, navigable, tributary, and canon. They did not need to write the part about the review unless they forgot this information. But the U.S. is the third largest in size when it comes to a country, the third largest country in size. So let me just kind of cross that out there. It's the third largest country in size. There are 48 states that stretch across North America. Alaska is in the northwest part of our continent, and Hawaii is in the Pacific Ocean. We know when we refer to West Coast or the states along the West Coast that they're facing the Pacific Ocean. When we talk about East Coast, those are the states facing the Atlantic Ocean. And the southern United States also gets that to enjoy the warm waters coming from the Gulf of Mexico. From third grade, being a third grade teacher, I know that they learned about regions, and that no matter how they call them, there are 5 regions that we divide the United States up into, which is the Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, and Southwest. And sometimes it's called the Northwest, and sometimes it's just called the West. But those are our 5 regions. We then talked about the word contiguous, which is when states in the central part of North America are contiguous, they are connected, they share borders. So Kansas would be an example of something that shares borders, where Hawaii would not be an example of that because it does not share its border. It shares its border with the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. We then talked about the U.S. territories, that the U.S. has several territories or areas of land that are under its control and protection. So Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, those are all non-states, but U.S. territories that our country is responsible for providing aid to. Because as we control that area, we also offer protection in that area. We also talked about how the physical features of the United States are unique. We have coastal plains, mountains, lowlands, Great Plains. It really depends where you're located, what the physical features are going to be like. If I were to go down to South Florida, it's very flat. But if I were to travel up to Tallahassee, suddenly the elevation increases and we have more hilly landscapes. And so that's why it's important to know that the United States is diverse in its physical features. When we talked about water, specifically the Mississippi River, any kind of river or lake that is navigable just means that it's wide enough and deep enough that ships and boats can go through it. I explained that north of the Mississippi, it's harder to get through that area, whereas you get further south of Mississippi, it's easier for passages of ships and boats to get through. We also went over another vocabulary word, which is tributary. Tributary is a river that flows into another river. So kind of like a street branching off to another street. And then we also talked about canyons, that in the northwest of Arizona, rivers have worn through the rock and they've created these magnificent canyons or these deep valleys with steep sides like the Grand Canyon. So those were our notes from our social studies time that we wrote inside of our notebooks. And then after we did our social studies notes, the students then completed some work inside of Canvas. They had some independent work that they needed to complete. So they had some pages inside of their textbook to read, pages 16 to 27. When they were done reading inside of their textbook, there was a quick lesson check, which is simply making sure that they've read the pages that I've asked them to read. And following the lesson check was a quick writing activity where they imagine that they're visiting one of the US regions, and in a text entry, they're just going to describe what some of the landforms and ways of life they would see on their visit to one particular region. So that was our activities that we did in social studies. Then it was time for the students to go to math. Following math, we came back for science. During our science time, I showed the student the Sum It Up notes. The Sum It Up notes were pretty difficult because we were having a lot of technical problems at the time. But for the Sum It Up notes, I'll show those up on the camera for you right now. It was on page 38, and they were just words that we were filling in the blanks because I felt like this would be important for them when they would take a test on this material. So for example, number 1 we said was models. Number 2 was repeated observations. Number 3 was draw conclusions. Number 4 was geysers or whales. Number 5 was a computer simulation model. Number 6 was physical models. Number 7 was design and experiment. Number 8 was record and analyze data. Number 9 was line graphs, 10 bar graphs, and then finally 11 diagrams. We also went over the answers for the brain check specifically so that the students knew those answers. Okay, you can pause that at any time if you need to, but I also read those out loud for the students. Okay, we even went over the back problem, which was the apply concepts, where we talked about which ones would we use models, which ones would we use repeated observations, and which ones would be best to do a controlled experiment for. The students were able then, once they were ready to go into their actual activity in Canvas, there was an excellent video for them to watch learning about lava, and then they got into the actual nitty-gritty of the work, which was reading pages 25 to 40 in their textbook, completing the brain check, and then finally taking the lesson quiz, just making sure that they've read the pages that I've asked them to read inside of that book. So once they were done with all of that, our day was through, and quite a long day it was with so much going on. At that point, what we had was time for us to go over the planner, and it was also time for us to hear a quick story before we left for the day. And so in our planner, we wrote down that our vocabulary homework is going to be due on Friday. We'll still take the test every Monday. We know that we're working on Frindle chapters 10 through 12, and we're completing the slides. It's a 2-day activity, which means they have both Monday and then Tuesday it needs to be turned in. We're reading Red Kayak in reading groups, and they're reading Frindle on their own. Both of those things are going to take 2 days. I suggest that they copy down their spelling words today or print them from their email, and that tomorrow they pre-test. No point in studying 20 words if you know most of them. Just study the ones that you really don't know how to spell. We didn't write anything in for math because they have different math teachers. But then here for science, it is important that they understand that lesson 3 needed to get done today. We worked on the brain check together, and that they also had a quiz to do. And that they'll have more time this week, but this really needs to be finished because it is a class work grade. And then for lesson 2 in social studies, they had the quiz and the writing activity. And again, that's important. These will go into Skyward, so it's important for the students to complete this work. And so that is all that we have done today, and it seems like quite a lot. But thank you so much for watching this recap to kind of fill you in on what happened today in our classroom, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday.